Hey Internet, welcome back to What's the Points? I'm Mike. I just got back from Japan flying on Japan Airlines using American Airlines miles. Had an amazing experience, and I'm here to tell you how easy it is to do and why you might start with this versus some other options. So if that sounds interesting, stick around and give a like and subscribe. It would be super appreciated. So jumping right into it, I just spent 120,000 American Airlines miles to redeem a round trip business class flight on Japan Airlines. And I gotta say, this is one of the best travel experiences I've ever had. Now, there's a lot more I could say about Japan, what was amazing about it, why I was interested in going. I will save that for another video. For now, I just want to talk about why this was such an amazing value, how easy it was to do, and how relatively low risk making this plan is compared to other options. Now, the cool thing about AA miles, for those of you who are kind of new to this and haven't watched my previous videos, or a lot of others, because this is actually a pretty well discussed redemption, but I got a tip on one of the discussion forums that I follow quite a few months ago, about 9 months ago, so around summer 2024. And as soon as I saw them, particularly on the way back, which was the overnight, where I really wanted to get some sleep, I jumped on it right away and spent the next 8 months figuring out if I could actually go and then what my itinerary would be so that I could find affordable accommodations and a basic idea of what I was going to do while I'm there. And the cool thing about AA miles compared to a similar type of redemption that in order to get good value like this, with the exception of Alaska Airlines' program, for the most part, you would need to transfer some bank points from an issuer such as Chase or American Express, Capital One, Wells Fargo. And if you have some points in those systems, then definitely there's a lot of options. But the biggest risk is that you'll get those points orphaned in some foreign carrier that may be more complex or may be more prone to devaluation. Now, knock on wood, AA has not seen a devaluation in quite a few years, as I understand it. Now, certain bloggers like Frequent Miler, they predict that AA is going to be devalued more in the near future than Alaska, because Alaska just changed their award chart last year. However, if you have Avianca, they recently had a pretty big devaluation on their redemptions to Europe. And this came only really a few months after they had performed another unannounced devaluation. So I think that like anywhere else, take predictions with a grain of salt. No one has a crystal ball. And, earn and burn if you can actually make good use of those points and fit that trip into your life. Going to Japan right now is great for those of us who are US dollar based, because the exchange rate still happens to be at a very favorable rate to the Japanese yen. And so because of how easy it was to travel there without having to rent a car, and with budget travel on metros, and lots of good quality food that you don't have to go to gourmet restaurants, I probably spent less money on my trip there than I would really just hanging out where I live in the Bay Area of California. So while it might seem like it's a more advanced maneuver to make a trip like this, my experience was that as long as you feel comfortable going abroad, I actually think that not only from a frugality perspective, but just in terms of the ease of redeeming this, that actually, uh, I finally kind of see what all the hype is about. And in particular, the both the hard product, which is the seat and the overall quality of the plane and how they've configured it, as well as the soft product, the service and food, were both just as outstanding as I had hoped for. This plane in particular that I took both ways was a 787 8, which, as I understand it, is not the most current product that you can find with them or most other airlines, which right now is one of the Airbus A300 series. And I'm not quite yet an aviation expert, and I am interested in taking one of those latest products. But I gotta say that maybe my expectations were, sufficiently low because I had read some mixed reviews on this. But as someone who has not yet had a lot of experience, and in fact has only been on 2 other international lie flat business class seat redemptions, I found that at least as an average size person at 5'10", that I had plenty of room to sleep, including on my side or even on my stomach if I had to. I just wish I had brought better earplugs, but that's a different story. So 60,000 AA miles now each way, so that's 120. How do you earn that? Well, that's beyond the scope of this video. But if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that there's a lot of different ways to earn AA miles, not least, of course, of which is opening up credit cards. And, always use credit responsibly, as I like to say. But if you need to get a relatively low risk card, probably the Barclays Aviator Red, if you can get it. If you meet their 624 rule, as it's generally known, which is similar to Chase's notorious 524 rule, which says that if you've opened that many, 5, or in the case of Barclays, 6 personal credit cards within the last 24 months, that you'll be denied. And the consensus, including my own observation data points, seem to indicate that that is a rule that's in effect for Barclays and that no reconsideration is given by them. So if you're one of these who fall into that camp, maybe you're newer in this game, then take a serious look at the Barclays card, because that's going away and it'll likely be absorbed by Citibank. Citibank allows you to change one type of personal credit card into essentially any other type of personal credit card, which is unique in the US-based lending space. And more to the point, this bonus will be going away if this product, all of the Barclays AA products, are expected to be absorbed sooner rather than later into Citibank. So that would be a great place to get a very easy sign-up bonus on that card, which generally ranges from 50 to up to about 70,000 miles on your very first purchase. So that's unheard of. And it's unfortunate that one will be going away, because it'll be long gone probably before I'm eligible to get it. But I use the AA shopping portal, dining portal, sometimes AA hotels, maybe at some point AA cars if I can find a good enough rate. But check out some of my earlier videos on this if you want to see a little bit more. It's a little bit more advanced strategy because I'm thinking about status and other things. And, status in my case actually did help a little bit, because I was able to visit the first class lounge that Japan Airlines operates at the Haneda Airport, Tokyo. But even if I didn't have that, just with this class of ticket, I would have been able to access the business class lounge, which I imagine is probably almost as good as the first class lounge, if it's anything like the quality of their actual on-plane product. And a quick side note on that, this particular plane did not have a first class cabin. It was only business and economy. And it was just as much privacy and really all around quality of the product as I would expect from business class. I know there's some more hyped products out there, certainly on the first class side. And And, the ability to get those is, in general, is very advanced and requires sometimes extreme flexibility. By contrast, and I think what makes this redemption so interesting is that by using AA miles, not only do you not have to transfer your points from a transferable currency into another carrier that they might be orphaned, but there's no change or cancellation fee. The upfront fees are very low. I believe it's only $5.60 on top of whatever other sorts of mandatory taxes there are. So I don't remember exactly what it was on this flight, but it was so inexpensive that it's hardly even worth mentioning. And so that's a huge advantage, because when you make a trip like this, sometimes you got to do it way far out in advance. That's really the moral to the story from this experience. I booked it, like I said, 9 months ago. And I knew that if I had to cancel it, it would be no big deal. And in particular, that I could always use those miles for domestic travel or other things. So maybe I wouldn't necessarily get as much outsized value, but at least I could use it for domestic flights, which is more than I can say for trying to use a foreign carrier to book domestic carriers. Not only is that always a fairly advanced strategy in my book, but it also seems to be, in the last year or two, very prone to devaluation, which comes not just in terms of the loss of value, but even more insidiously, the decrease of availability. And so there's a lot of examples of that with the domestic carriers, which I won't get into right at this moment. But the nice thing about choosing to accumulate, let's say, AA miles is that they still do maintain this partner award chart with the foreign carriers. And who knows how long that'll last. Again, knock on wood here. But as long as that exists, it's something that is really worth taking a look at, because you've got the best combination here, right? You've got a really great value. First of all, this ticket would have cost at least $6,000 round trip. And so for 120,000 miles, that is a very respectable 5 cents per point. And sure, you can find higher value redemptions than that, but ultimately you got to look at the overall picture, which is what's the quality of the experience that you're getting relative to the amount of currency that you're spending. And so that's why it's good not to get too hung up on the cents per point, or CPP, as those of us in this game tend to abbreviate it. Don't get too hung up on that, because retail prices are, they fluctuate a lot. And for the majority of us, unless we're getting paid to do this, they don't really represent an actual value for us, because most of us don't have the means, let alone the willingness to spend $6,000 on a single plane trip, even if it was for a very special occasion. So, that said, 120,000 miles for a transcontinental business class flight on an international carrier that has head and shoulders better hard product and certainly soft product than any of the domestic carriers, it was a slam dunk. So, there's a lot of different ways to look for this. I would recommend certain award search tools, which have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you look and where you look. Pro tip, look from a lot of different airports and be willing to take repositioning flights. But certain tools like Seats.aero, Award Tool, Points Yeah, and others, even the free versions, but especially if you want to search for a whole year out and not just a couple months, in the case of Seats.aero, the pro version, highly recommended. And that's not how I found it in this case, because sometimes you'll just get a tip off that, hey, such and such airline just dumped a bunch of award space with their partner programs. And once you're able to find something, jump on it. If you even think there's a possibility you can go and you have the miles, And particularly if they're AA miles, where you know that there's 100% flexibility in the refundability, jump on it. And then if you can actually make it work, you're in luck. So this was intended a little bit more as kind of a more beginner introductory type of analysis into what's possible. And again, the key summary here, other than the fact that I'm a big fan of AA miles, if not necessarily their hard product, AA metal, flying on with them domestically is, tend to be regarded as the worst of the legacy carriers. I don't have quite enough data points yet to say whether or not that is as true as others say, but the limited amount that I do have, I would say, unfortunately, that is almost certainly one of the downsides. And who knows? Maybe that's part of why this exists. Maybe because they know that their operations are arguably less expensive. Maybe that's why their prices are generally less. Maybe that helps preserve this few of us who do know how to redeem for partner awards. Maybe that subsidizes that. And so in that sense, maybe in a weird sort of way, we should be grateful for the mediocrity of American Airlines as a product, as long as their mileage program continues to stay as strong as it is. Then I'll continue earning and redeeming rewards. And, I'll always do that in concert with having at least one other transferable currency, just so that I have options on one of the other two major airline alliances. AA is only in the One World Alliance. And while that offers a lot of options, Star Alliance, which has United, is the biggest worldwide. So you'll always want to have a transferable currency that is strong. Ironically, the One World seems to be the weakest in general in terms of the number of available programs that you can transfer to for One World flights. I may be wrong about that, but from what I can tell, it seems like there's generally more options for SkyTeam and Star Alliance-based partners to transfer to from the different US-based credit card issuers, most particularly Amex, Chase, Wells Fargo, and Citibank. So if you disagree with that, let me know in the comments. But for now, I would say if you want to get up and running as a travel enthusiast, but someone who doesn't want to add too much complexity and too much overhead cost too fast, take a look at AA and pair them, if you can, with a travel credit card that earns you transferable currency with a straightforward program such as with Amex or Chase. Depending on where you are in your credit card journey, there's a lot of different reasons to get one versus the other, and that's outside of the scope of this video. But in general, I would say that probably something from Amex or from Chase as a, let's say, a mid-tier travel card would probably be the best all-around bet to pair with having a card in the AA system. And honestly, you don't even necessarily need an AA credit card, but it helps, particularly on earning with AA Hotel Portal. So that's all I got for now. But if this was at all valuable to you, again, would appreciate that like and subscribe and comment. Ask me any other questions you have about how I manage this trip. Stay tuned for more of an in-depth review of my experience traveling in Japan. I want to branch out a little bit and talk about the travel experiences and how those were meaningful for me beyond just the satisfaction and appreciation for actually making these trips happen with this hobby. So that's it. Take care of each other, and ciao for now.